Hello, dear ones, from this beautiful, beautiful evening on top of the hill behind my house. Look at that sunset. It is I, Virge, and thank you for meeting me on the Verge. I'm sitting on this lovely rock, wearing these beautiful beads that my friend Amy gave me, and a shirt that my dad gave me, and these, some of my favorite shoes on earth with their leather soles. I even had them resoled for grounding that my dear friend Elise gave me. Oh. So, I have a lot that I would like to share tonight on this night of, I believe, June 18th. Look at these clouds. How magical is that? It rained today, the most that it's rained in a very long time, or at least since I've been here. It could be the beginning of monsoon season. And it's funny because I drew 10 of Cups as one of my cards for today, and then there was just this deluge of rain. So I would like to begin by reading you some free writing, recent free writing of mine from my journal. And this is free writing that I actually recently recorded as a response to an amazing poem that my friend Claire wrote and then voice recorded and shared with me. And I shared my voice recording of this with a few people, and it seemed to move a lot of people. So I wanted to share it with you, and I wanted it to be the opening for my video today. This is from May 25th. I feel lonely and afraid. I am so afraid for people to talk shit about me, to find some reason to be set off and be mean. My dogs are the most likely reason, for they don't care what others think. They just do them, and that sometimes makes others very uncomfortable. And when we are our wild, instinctual selves, we do trigger others, without guilt or shame, but to ease the pressure. Are folks, am I ready to see the provocations, not as others' faults, or something to blame or talk shit about, but as an innocent instigator showing what festers, popping the abscess inside of you? Fear, anger, tears, bile, resentment, whatever emanates from you was inside of you. Am I ready to be able to be in conflict? For people to blame me or even lie or slander, certainly gossip, straight up dislike me, pretend to like me, then talk behind my back, etc. Am I ready to face it all and know it has nothing to do with me? To stop wasting so much energy trying to be liked or perfect or understood or spotless and just be my colorful, messy, spastic, as people sometimes call my dogs, wild self? Am I ready to spill and splosh and roar over into greatness and let those who love me fiercely, and those who can't stand me fuck off? As usual, I could write for days about all I need to say, but I must sleep now. And yet I recorded this next part the same night. I got inspired. And I would like to say also that this next part is inspired by the Wild Unknown Tarot, in which the card the Hanged Man is a bat. And so for those of you that are into tarot, I highly suggest the Wild Unknown deck. It's an amazing deck that I've been using since my friend Whit gave it to me back in October. And I have drawn many times the Hanged Man, the bat, for being here and what I'm here to learn. So, earlier when I was listening to the thing Kat sent me, Kat, my cousin, and by the way, that I was listening to was a meditation on an app called Insight Timer, which I highly recommend, by a woman named Sarah Blondin. So Sarah Blondin on Insight Timer, I will link to her down below. Her meditations have been huge for me lately. So please check her out. Like, I cry, tears stream down my eyes every time I listen to one of her meditations. So Earlier, when I was meditating to the thing Kat sent me, I had an image of myself having climbed and climbed so high, trying so hard, pulling myself up by sheer force of will and strength, rung by rung up a steep, steep ladder. And then I imagined just letting go and falling and falling and falling in space, into darkness, into empty, fast-moving air. And then suddenly, like the bat, the hanged one, who must fall to fly, realizing I could use the momentum of the fall to fly, and then beginning to pump and rise and soar easily, effortlessly, floatily, up and up and up, far surpassing in seconds the place it had taken me years to lug and grasp and sweat and struggle up to before. Let go. There's only difficulty and chaos for you in the beginning, and that period of struggle becomes shorter and shorter the more you are willing to let go and stay present. Chaos and darkness reveal themselves as order and light more and more quickly. How fast today did you turn from the beginner, the beggar who could hardly ride, to the unexpected equine queen? It was not by struggle. It was by falling fast and swift, plummeting in the expectations and views of others and the world, of appearances. But you have a secret. You know something they don't. In the dark momentum of your free fall from social grace, from the rigid show of strength and perfectionism and know-it-allness, you achieve a momentum so powerful you can fly, only making your rise that much more impressive, impossible, jaw-dropping inducing as you easily, effortlessly soar way beyond their wildest dreams of what you are capable of. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. But I am the bat in the magical dark, and I will use my fall to fly. Watch me rise to never before seen or touched heights. Watch the one you thought was trash shine like gold. Let the one you thought was done never grow old. Let the worker become queen bee. You see, by letting go of everything, you thought I fell to my death. But only I knew I had to die to be free. Now look at me. Soaring, twirling, diving, rising as I screech and as I keen. So that was that piece that I wanted to share with you, and I hope that you enjoyed that. That's just a piece of free writing that I wrote down and haven't edited at all from a few weeks ago. And I feel that it really relates, especially in saying that it's my dogs that often end up triggering people, since I still have those people-pleasing tendencies and tend to bridle myself in certain ways. I wanted to share with you a recent experience that I had, and I will preface this by saying the other day my friend Amy was here and we were talking about just growth and cycles, and I said, imagine me when I'm 70 years old. And she said, yeah, you're going to be barely still here, like barely in your body, as in I'll be, transcended. And I said, no, I will be rooted and grounded as much as a powerful oak tree. I will be so rooted and I will be so grounded. And so I want to say that I feel like I began this channel and so much of my spiritual journey feeling like to be spiritual, to be enlightened, meant to transcend the body. And the further that I have progressed and come on this journey, the more that I feel that to be enlightened, to be real, to be oneself, to be coherent, to be cohesive, to be harmonized, to be spiritual. Yes, again, to be authentic means to be embodied, to be more and more in the body, experiencing the body and its wisdom as we are here in this human experience, and being honest in that, And I really feel like that sums up a big part of this journey for me. And even saying this to you right now, like the feeling that I have in my body that I can notice is this sort of tension, tingliness all in my solar plexus band, all across the right under my ribs. And so I also want to say that I have recently joined a community and a class. It's facilitated by a woman named Perri Chase, who I am going to link to down below. This community is called HEARTH, and her work is all about embodiment and the integration and feeling and releasing, I would say more so becoming, of trapped energy and trauma through practices of embodiment, like noticing the sensations that are going on in our body and being with those without trying to see what they mean, without trying to fix them, learning to just notice and stay in our body rather than dissociating or trying to transcend being there. So I will link to Perri Chase down below. She's been pretty huge for me because this has been a huge practice of mine for the past, since October, really, since being with my cousin in Chattanooga in October, to start writing down and noting sensations that I'm having in my body, like, oh, pressure in my right chest, itch on my left back shoulder, pain in my left butt, as I'm living and going throughout the day and as I'm writing. And I've already talked to you guys about this a bit because I started noticing the way certain substances were having me feel, like coffee and sugar. And by the way, I had coffee for the first time in like 10 days this afternoon. And so it's interesting to note the difference in my body having had coffee from having not had it for so long, and see that, yes, it is a stimulant, and maybe it's something that I will have from time to time consciously without being dependent on or addicted to unconsciously, and just noting how it feels in my body, which I definitely do feel shakier, more sped up. I feel stimulated, and that can be a good thing too, if it's conscious. It's not even about good and bad, though. That's not what it's about. It's about just noting the sensations. That is a big practice in embodiment, and it's been amazing to join this community called HEARTH, that again I will link to down below, because I've been feeling so crazy and kind of isolated for obsessively writing down body sensations. And then to be in a community where like this is the actual practice that we're being asked to do has just been very affirming to me. So a recent example is yesterday I witnessed someone yell at my dogs in a way that really, really triggered me. And yell at my dogs. It was at Roslyn for being in the arena. And in that moment, clearly this person was very frustrated. I don't like my dogs to be in the arena, but it was just one of those situations where this happened. Roslyn was actually looking for me, and I was in a stall where she couldn't find me. And this person was escalating, and they're yelling at my dogs, and then said, I don't remember the exact words, but essentially, "Are you retarded?" to Roslyn. And I witnessed this. I don't believe the person knew that I was watching or could hear, based on where I was. And the first thing I wanted to do was dissociate, because it was so painful and it triggered, my whole body was shaking. I felt so weak that I was going to faint. And even now, it's like I feel self-conscious about telling you guys this and telling this story, because I'm afraid people would just, right, the things that we've been conditioned and told our whole lives, oh, get over it, it's not a big deal, like it affected you that much, blah, blah, blah. But instead of pretending that I was okay, I was completely there in my body, noting the sensations, taking deep and conscious breaths, noting how it was taking me back to all of these times where, whether it was to animals or people who I felt like were in my care, like my younger brother, or people that I felt responsible for, hearing others call them stupid or snapping and just losing their shit on them when they didn't do whatever that person wanted them to do, and then blaming the animal or human or child for that. Especially around my little brother, it triggered a lot of trauma. And so it was all I could do in those moments to keep standing and keep working. I mean, I was actually physically working at that time. And thankfully, I had friends with me at the time. My friend Amy was there, and the universe sent me several other safe and supportive others in those moments that I could be completely honest with about how I was feeling, and one other person who I could be completely honest about with exactly what happened. And not in a way of talking shit, in a way of talking about how I felt. And, even in the moments that it was happening, in feeling all of that trauma and sensation in my body, and noting the way that the person who had yelled at Rosalind was, laughing and trying to make light of it. Even in that moment, I was like, okay, like that's your trauma response, like to pretend that, most of us have been taught to dissociate. Yours is to pretend that it's a joke. And it wasn't a joke. It wasn't a joke to me, at least. It really hurt my feelings. And also in that moment, I was able to say to the person, like, well, she saw that I had been listening, and she did apologize in that moment. And I said, it didn't hurt my feelings that you yelled at my dogs. It was you calling her retarded. And then in that moment, she acted like it was a joke, and I disengaged, because it wasn't a joke to me to hear my baby accused of being retarded because she didn't immediately comply with an order from someone who is not someone who communicates with her a lot. So anyway, I just went through this whole cycle of emotions. Anger was what came out first to kind of like strengthen me, to keep me going through continuing to clean some stalls and just get through that. And then I allowed for all of these, it was like these deep, deep, deep sobs came up from my childhood, from the core of my repressed trauma being, and just being completely honest with this and being in a safe space where I felt like I could express that. And again, it was like, I felt like because I didn't pretend that it didn't mean anything to me, because I didn't repress it, because I didn't numb or dissociate and was willing to feel it, it was like I was immediately supported with people who were there, again, safe and supported others who I could talk about it with. And so there was a lot of processing that went on. There was just a lot of talking about sensation and feeling and the resonant past trauma experiences that it brought up. And I felt very good about it. Like by the end of, I didn't feel like I was done with the process. Who knows if we're ever done. But by the end of it, I felt authentic. And I didn't feel like I blamed the other person. I felt, triggered. But I understood that that person, we all have trauma inside of us that comes out in certain ways, in certain moments. And it's not about the individual person. It's about all of our trauma in the ways that we've been raised and what we've gone through, and also the ancestral trauma that we carry in our bodies. And so today, that person came up to me of their own accord and gave me, I was not expecting this at all. I didn't feel like I needed this. I, wanted to be able to go forward and be authentic with that person. And they came up to me and apologized very heartfeltly, looking me in the eye. The energy was so coherent. And again, I was able to say, it wasn't you yelling at my dogs that upset me. It was you calling, my dog this word that I'm really not okay with, retarded. And the person instantly said, yes, that was unacceptable. I am so sorry. I didn't, I knew as soon as I said that was wrong. And I was authentically able to say in that moment, I forgive you. Like, thank you so much for coming to apologize to me. Like, that meant so much. And, it was, so this is just what happened. I'm not even going to say if that part is good or bad. I'm just going to say that none of that, I don't think, would have happened. I'm sure, for instance, if I had just if I had just laughed or pretended that I didn't hear, because in the moment I looked at the person so that they could see, oh, here's a bat flying over me right now. Cool. In the moment I looked at that person until, they interacted with me and I was able to say what had bothered me, even during that trauma response. Which was also really cool. And if I had just pretended in the end, yes, I know it's not okay. Don't take it personally. It's not about me. It's about them, blah, blah, blah. But, I was not ready for that in that moment. I was very triggered and hurt, and it meant something to me. It was about me because of the feelings that I had. And so in the end, yes, I could come to this authentic forgiveness and realize that it wasn't about me. Oh, beautiful breeze just came up. It feels so good. But I was not ready to just bypass it and say, yeah, it's all love and light. Oh, I'm going to just instantly, say that wasn't about me and move on and pretend that I didn't see it and just not rock the boat. And if I had done that again, I wouldn't have had the chance to get an apology from that person and genuinely be able to accept it, look them in their beautiful, beautiful eyes and hug them. And I believe that our relationship is deeper and more real than ever now. And I'm thankful that I was vulnerable and brave enough to show that person, as well as the safe and supportive others who I was honest about my feelings with, that no, I wasn't okay. I believe that true strength is to feel that and express what's authentically going on, not to be like, oh yeah, stuff like that doesn't bother me, or, oh yes, well, I just forgive and forget. Maybe that is authentic for some people. I'm just here doing what's authentic for me. And I wanted to share that because, again, I feel that being honest and embodying all of those feelings and getting better and better at putting into words what those sensations and feelings, that ancient wisdom of my body is seeking to tell me. And as Perri Chase said, my mind is just interpreting what my body is feeling. And so I am seeking to become a better translator of bodily wisdom, if that makes sense. Anyway, I hope that this story inspires you to practice embodiment. I hope that you check out Perri Chase. I hope that you're beginning to notice sensations and feelings, just straight up physical, not even saying what the feelings or emotions are. If you feel connections, be honest about those, but just noticing actual physical sensations in your body. And if you're tensing and resisting to those, and maybe if you can release a little bit and allow yourself to feel it, and then seeing if any emotions or words do come from actually feeling those feelings. All right, I love you guys very much. It's become very dark, as you can see. It's just the outline of me. It's kind of cool, though. This is very bat-like, isn't it? I am the bat. I am the bat. We fall to fly. We go into the darkness fully in order to emerge in the light. And for me lately, what that has meant is allowing myself to feel all the sensations, which are often very, very heavy and pressury and painful, in order to enter into that lightness and that release and that joy, because they're two sides, or they're part of the same spiral. We don't get to fully experience anything without fully experiencing everything. So I love you very much, brave ones, brave, courageous, authentic folks. Thank you for being with me, and I look forward to hearing what you share. And I just look forward to being ever more rooted and embodied and honest and authentic and transparent together. The real you is what the world needs most, and our sensations and feelings point us to what is true from the inside out rather than what we've been told from the outside. So listen to your body, be in it, and emanate from there. Remember that here at Divinity Ranch on the Virge with me, this is a safe and supportive place to say how you feel and to be vulnerable and to be real. Mwah.